"You don't deserve it anyway," Marcus said, loud enough for everyone at the table to hear. My hand froze midair, still holding the dessert menu. Around us, his entire family went quiet. His mother stopped talking. His sister looked down at her plate. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. We were celebrating his promotion. The promotion I'd helped him prepare for. I'd spent 3 months editing his presentations, coaching him through practice interviews, and calming him down every time he panicked. And now, in front of everyone, he was saying I didn't deserve to order the chocolate lava cake because it was too expensive. I looked at him, really looked at him, and something inside me snapped. "Actually," I said, my voice steady, "I think I deserve a lot more than cake." Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button now. Your support means everything to me. If you've ever felt underestimated by your own people around you, you'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. The table stayed silent. Marcus forced a laugh like I'd made a joke, but I wasn't laughing. His mother cleared her throat and tried to change the subject, asking about the wedding venue. I didn't answer. I was still staring at Marcus, watching his face turn red. He leaned closer and whispered, "What are you doing?" I whispered back, "I'm done pretending." Then I stood up, grabbed my coat, and walked out of the restaurant. My hands were shaking, but I didn't look back. I could hear his mother calling after me, but I kept walking. I got into my car, locked the doors, and sat there in the parking lot. My phone started buzzing almost immediately. Marcus, then his sister, then his mother. I turned it off. I didn't go home that night. I went to my best friend Chloe's apartment. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside without asking questions. I told her everything. About the restaurant. About how Marcus had been making little comments for months. About how he always made me feel like I was asking for too much, even when I wasn't asking for anything at all. Chloe listened, her jaw getting tighter with every sentence. When I finished, she said, "You know this isn't normal, right?" I nodded. I did know, I just hadn't wanted to admit it. She made me tea and let me sleep on her couch. The next morning, my phone was full of messages. 63 to be exact. Most of the messages were from Marcus, apologies mixed with anger. "I didn't mean it that way. You embarrassed me in front of my family. You're overreacting. We need to talk." His mother had sent a long message about how every couple has rough moments and how I shouldn't throw away a good man over one comment. His sister sent a short one. That was dramatic. Only one message felt honest. It was from his cousin, someone I barely knew. It said, "Good for you." He's always been like that. I stared at that message for a long time. Always been like that. I thought about our entire relationship. All the times he'd made me feel small. All the times I'd convinced myself I was too sensitive. I texted Marcus once. "We need to talk, not today, I'll let you know when." Then I muted him. I needed space to think. Chloe had to go to work, so I went home. The apartment felt different. Marcus and I had been living together for 8 months. His stuff was everywhere. His shoes by the door, his jacket on the chair, his coffee mug in the sink. I walked through each room, noticing things I'd ignored before. How he took up all the closet space. How my books were shoved into one small corner. How the furniture was all his choice. I sat down on the couch and cried, not because I missed him, but because I realized how much of myself I'd given up. For 3 days, I didn't contact him. I took time off work. I stayed home, ate whatever I wanted, and watched old movies. I started writing in a journal, something I hadn't done in years. I wrote about every moment in our relationship that had made me feel small. The list was longer than I expected. On the 4th day, I agreed to meet him. We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. He looked tired. He tried to hug me when I walked in, but I stepped back. We sat down. He started talking immediately. Apologizing, explaining, justifying. I let him talk for 10 minutes without interrupting. Then I said, "Do you even know what you're apologizing for?" He blinked, paused, then said, "For embarrassing you at dinner." I shook my head. "No, that's not it." He frowned. "Then what?" I took a deep breath. "You don't respect me, Marcus, and I don't think you even realize it." He looked genuinely confused. He said I was wrong, that he loved me, that he was just stressed about work. I asked him to name one thing I'd done for his career. He hesitated, then said, "You've been supportive." I waited. He couldn't name a single specific thing. Not the presentations, not the interview prep, not the late nights I'd stayed up helping him. I stood up. "I'm not doing this anymore." He grabbed my hand. "Wait, please, let's fix this." I pulled my hand away. I don't think you can fix something you don't see as broken. I left the coffee shop and blocked his number. It felt terrifying and freeing at the same time. That week, I started packing his things. I put everything in boxes, labeled them, and stacked them neatly by the door. I texted his sister and told her to pick them up. She came 2 days later, barely looking at me. She took the boxes without a word. Before she left, I said, "He doesn't respect me." "You know that, right?" She stopped, turned around, and for a second I thought she might say something real. But she just said, "You're making a mistake," and left. I closed the door and felt lighter than I had in months. 2 weeks passed. I started going to therapy. My therapist asked me why I'd stayed so long. I didn't have a good answer. Maybe I thought love was supposed to be hard. Maybe I thought I could fix him. Maybe I just didn't want to admit I'd chosen wrong. She told me something that stuck with me. "You can't make someone value you. You can only decide what you'll accept." I thought about that a lot. Meanwhile, Marcus kept trying to contact me, through mutual friends, through social media. Through his mother, I ignored all of it. Then one day, I got a message from someone unexpected. His coworker, a woman named Amanda. She said, "We need to talk. It's about Marcus." I almost didn't reply, but curiosity got the better of me. I met Amanda for lunch. She was nervous, fidgeting with her napkin. She told me she'd worked with Marcus for 2 years. She said he'd always talked badly about me at work. Not loudly, not obviously, but in small, cutting ways. "She doesn't really get business. She's too emotional. I have to handle everything at home." Amanda said she'd never thought much of it until the dinner incident. Someone at work had heard about it through Marcus's sister. Amanda said, "I realized he talks about everyone like that, especially women." She told me about other coworkers he'd undermined, other people he'd taken credit from. She said, "I thought you should know who you were engaged to." I thanked her. I didn't know what else to say. Part of me wasn't even surprised. It all made sense now. The way he'd slowly convinced me I wasn't good enough. The way he'd made me doubt myself. I went home and looked through old texts between us. Messages I'd saved because they'd seemed sweet at the time. Now they just looked manipulative. "You're lucky I'm patient with you. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're the only one who puts up with me. You're so sensitive, but I love you anyway." Every compliment had a jab attached. Every "I love you" came with a condition. I felt sick. How had I not seen it before? That night, I deleted every photo of us, every text, every memory I'd been holding onto. A month later, I heard through a mutual friend that Marcus was dating someone new. Already, it stung for about 5 minutes. Then I realized I didn't actually care. I was rebuilding my life. I'd reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with. I'd started painting again, something I'd loved before Marcus convinced me it was a waste of time. I'd even gone on a solo trip to the coast, something I'd always wanted to do. I was learning who I was without him, and I liked her. One evening, Chloe came over with wine. She asked if I regretted leaving. I said no. She asked if I missed him. I said, "I miss who I thought he was, but that person never existed." 2 months after the breakup, I ran into Marcus at a grocery store. I saw him before he saw me. He was in the frozen food aisle looking at pizzas. He looked the same, maybe a little more tired. I could have left, should have left, but I didn't. I walked up to him. "Hi, Marcus." He turned, surprised. Then his face softened into that familiar smile. The one that used to make me feel safe. Now it just felt empty. He said, "Hey, how are you?" I said, "I'm good, really good." He nodded, awkward. Then he said, "I've been thinking about you." I waited. He said, "I think we should try again. I've changed." I almost laughed. "Have you?" He looked hurt. "Yes, I've been working on myself." I asked, "Have you been to therapy?" He hesitated. "Not yet, but I've been thinking about it." I nodded. "Thinking isn't doing, Marcus." He got defensive then, said I was being unfair, said I never gave him a real chance to fix things. I stayed calm. I said, "I gave you 3 years. That was more than enough." He stared at me like he couldn't believe what he was hearing, like he'd expected me to fall apart without him. But I hadn't. I'd grown. He said, "You've changed." I smiled. "Yeah, I have." Then I walked away. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I already knew what was behind me, and I was much more interested in what was ahead. The next few months were quiet. Good quiet. I got promoted at work, the kind of recognition I'd always worked for but never celebrated because Marcus made it feel unimportant. This time I celebrated. I took myself out to dinner. I ordered the most expensive dessert on the menu, chocolate lava cake. I ate every bite. I started going to a weekly art class. I met people who didn't know Marcus, didn't know my past, and only knew me as I was now. Confident, creative, free. One night, Chloe and I were talking about everything that had happened. She said, "You know what I'm proudest of?" I asked, "What?" She said, "That you didn't go back. So many people would have gone back." I thought about that. She was right. It would have been easier to go back. Around month 4, I got an email from Marcus's mother. The subject line was, "Please read." I almost deleted it, but I opened it. She wrote a long message. She said she'd been thinking about that night at the restaurant, about how Marcus had spoken to me. She said she'd talked to him, really talked to him, and realized he had a pattern of disrespect that she'd enabled. She apologized. She said she understood if I never wanted to speak to her again, but she wanted me to know that she saw it now. She ended the email with, "You deserved better. I'm sorry I didn't say that sooner." I cried reading it, not sad tears, relieved ones, because it meant I wasn't crazy, I wasn't overreacting. I replied with 2 words, "Thank you." I started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee dates, walks in the park, getting to know people. It felt strange at first. I kept catching myself shrinking, apologizing for things that didn't need apologies, second-guessing my own opinions. But I was aware of it now, and awareness meant I could change it. I went on a date with a guy named Oliver. He was kind, asked questions, actually listened to the answers. At the end of the night, he said, "I had a great time. I'd love to see you again." I said yes, not because I was desperate, not because I needed someone, but because I wanted to. That felt like progress. That felt like choosing myself. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to earn someone's love. I was just living. 6 months after the breakup, Marcus texted me from a new number. "I know you blocked me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, really sorry. I understand now." I stared at the message. Part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted closure, an explanation, a real conversation. But the other part of me, the stronger part, knew it didn't matter. Whether he'd changed or not wasn't my problem anymore. I typed out a reply. "I appreciate that. I hope you mean it, but I've moved on." I hit send and blocked the number. That was the last time I heard from him, and honestly, it was the perfect ending. Not dramatic, not bitter, just done. I closed that chapter of my life and didn't look back. A year later, I was completely different. Not just emotionally, but physically. I'd moved into a new apartment, my space, my rules. I decorated it exactly how I wanted. Plants everywhere, bright colors, a reading nook by the window. I even adopted a cat, a orange tabby named Pumpkin who had more personality than most people I'd met. I was thriving at work. My boss had noticed my confidence and given me more responsibility. I was leading projects, mentoring new hires, speaking up in meetings without second-guessing myself. One day, a coworker asked me what had changed. I thought about it. Then I said, "I stopped letting someone else define my worth." She nodded, like she understood exactly what I meant. Maybe she did. I ran into Amanda again, the coworker who'd warned me about Marcus. We grabbed coffee. She told me Marcus had been fired. Apparently, he'd taken credit for someone else's work one too many times and got caught. The company let him go quietly, but word had spread. She said, "Karma's real." I didn't feel happy about it. I didn't feel sad either. I just felt neutral. His life wasn't my concern anymore. I'd built something new, something solid, something mine. Amanda and I became friends after that, real friends. She introduced me to her circle, and I found a community of women who supported each other, challenged each other, and celebrated each other. It was the kind of friendship I'd been missing for years. I realized how isolated I'd been with Marcus, how small my world had become. About 14 months after the breakup, I was at a gallery opening. My art teacher had invited me. I'd actually submitted a painting, something I never thought I'd be brave enough to do. It was hanging on the wall, my name next to it. I stood there staring at it, feeling proud and terrified at the same time. A woman walked up beside me. She looked at the painting and said, "This is beautiful, so much emotion." I thanked her. She asked what inspired it. I thought about lying, making up something poetic, but I told the truth. It's about reclaiming yourself after losing yourself in someone else. She looked at me with understanding. "I've been there," she said. We talked for an hour. Strangers connecting over shared pain and growth. It felt healing. That night, walking home, I thought about everything I'd been through. The humiliation, the heartbreak, the slow, painful process of rebuilding. And I realized something important. I wasn't grateful for Marcus. I wasn't grateful for the pain. But I was grateful for what I'd learned. I'd learned that love shouldn't make you smaller. I'd learned that respect isn't optional. I'd learned that walking away, even when it's terrifying, is sometimes the bravest thing you can do. I'd learned that I was stronger than I ever knew, and I'd learned that I deserved the kind of love that felt easy, not exhausting. I didn't know if I'd find that, but I knew I'd never settle for less again. That knowledge felt like power. 2 years after that night at the restaurant, I was completely unrecognizable from the woman I'd been. Not in appearance, but in spirit. I was confident, I was whole, I was happy. I'd built a life I loved. I had friends who respected me, work that fulfilled me, hobbies that brought me joy. And yes, eventually I met someone who valued me, someone who listened, someone who made me feel seen without making me feel small. It wasn't perfect. No relationship is, but it was healthy. It was equal. It was everything Marcus and I never were. And the best part, I knew I didn't need it. I'd proven to myself that I could be happy alone. So choosing to be with someone wasn't about filling a void. It was about sharing a full life. Looking back now, I'm glad Marcus said what he said that night, because it woke me up. It forced me to see what I'd been ignoring. It gave me the push I needed to choose myself. If you're reading this or watching this on King's Revenge Vault and you've ever felt too small in a relationship, I want you to know something. You're not overreacting. You're not too sensitive. And you deserve more than someone who makes you question your worth. Walking away is hard. Rebuilding is harder. But staying in something that breaks you down piece by piece is the hardest of all. So let me ask you this. Have you ever stayed in something longer than you should have because you were afraid of starting over? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Your support means everything.